Have you ever thought about going back in time? Just to change one little thing. It's a fun idea, but what if that tiny change could unravel, well, everything, including you? That's the absolutely wild, mind-bending riddle we're tackling today, the grandfather paradox.
I mean, really think about it. What if you could literally go back and prevent yourself from ever existing? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but as we're about to see, it creates a logical knot that could threaten the very fabric of reality.
So yeah, the grandfather paradox isn't just some cool plot device. It's a serious logical puzzle, a real head-scratcher for physicists for decades. You could even say it's the ultimate stress test for any theory that allows for travel into the past. At its core, the paradox is basically the biggest argument against backward time travel. It suggests that you can't just mess with the past, because the past and the present are so deeply connected that changing one would just destroy the other.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? How does it create this giant contradiction? Let's break down the logic of this famous thought experiment, because once you see the loop, you'll understand just how tricky it is to get out of.
Right, so here's the deal. A time traveler goes back and does something that makes it impossible for them to ever be born. But if they were never born, how could they have gone back in time to do that thing in the first place? See? It's this perfect, self-destructing, logical nightmare.
To really get a handle on this, we need a solid example. Let's imagine a time traveler. We'll call her Clara, and watch as her plan goes completely and spectacularly off the rails.
Okay, so here's the impossible loop step by step. Step 1. Clara builds her machine. Easy enough. Step 3. She jumps back to 1950, and she actually succeeds. She stops her grandparents from ever meeting. But now look at Step 5. Because of what she did, Clara's never born. And here's the kicker. If she was never born, who went back to 1950 in the first place? The cause is totally erased by its own effect. We're just trapped in this ridiculous, endless loop that makes no sense.
It just feels like a brick wall, doesn't it? A perfect contradiction with no way out. But physicists and philosophers have come up with some incredibly creative and kind of wild theories to solve this riddle. So is there any way to escape the loop?
Well, the possible solutions pretty much fall into two big camps. The first idea, over on the left, says the past is totally fixed. It's set in stone. You can't change it no matter what you do. The other idea, on the right, says, sure, you can change the past, but when you do, you just create a whole new reality, which neatly avoids the paradox altogether.
This idea is at the heart of something called the Novikov Self-Consistency Principle. Basically, the universe has a built-in safety net. Any action that would create a paradox is just impossible. It has a 0% chance of happening. You go to pull the trigger, the gun jams. You trip on a rock, a bird flies in your face. Something, anything would always intervene to stop you from breaking the timeline.
The predestination paradox takes this whole idea even further. It says your trip to the past was always part of history to begin with. You aren't changing a thing. You're actually fulfilling your role in the timeline. In a really weird twist, maybe your very attempt to stop your grandparents from meeting is the exact thing that causes them to bump into each other and fall in love.
But what if the universe's protection is a little more aggressive? The legendary Stephen Hawking proposed what he called the chronology protection conjecture. He theorized that the fundamental laws of physics would basically declare war on any would-be time traveler. Any machine you tried to build that could violate causality would get destroyed by a crazy storm of quantum radiation before you could even turn it on. The universe keeps itself safe.
Okay, so far we've been working with the idea that the timeline is fixed. But what if all of that's wrong? What if you really can go back and change things? This is where the theories start to get really weird.
And that brings us to the many worlds interpretation. According to this theory, when you change the past, you're not erasing your own timeline. Nope. Instead, your action causes reality itself to split, creating a brand new parallel universe. In that new timeline, sure, you're never born, but back in your original universe, you just vanished. There's no paradox because the two timelines are now completely separate.
This table sums it all up so nicely. With Novikov and predestination, you simply can't change history. Either the universe physically stops you, or your actions were always part of the grand plan. But with many worlds, you actually succeed. Your grandfather is gone, and that new timeline you just created. You're still around, but you're now an orphan of your original reality. You can never go home again.
So as you can see, trying to solve this one puzzle forces us to ask some of the biggest questions you can possibly imagine about reality. This isn't just about time machines anymore. It's about free will, destiny, and the true nature of time itself. I mean, think about it. If the timeline is fixed, is our free will even real? If we can create whole new universes with a single choice, what does that say about our responsibilities right now? The grandfather paradox is way more than just a clever riddle. It's a gateway to thinking about causality, fate, and the very fabric of our universe.
So, after all that, the final question really comes back to you. If you had the chance, would you risk it? Would you change the past? Or do you believe that what happened was always meant to be? Your answer might say a lot about who we are and maybe even where we're all headed.